Hello everyone, this is the TED Talk about the 1.4 update in the YC series. So let's hear Blake. Hello Blake. Let's hear about the new features.
Wow, it's been a while. That was awesome. That was great. It's great to see you, man. And as always, you sound so great. And just the speed of the drawbar stuff, that was amazing. So cool.
Oh,
so that was the new H4 model, yes, right?
Yeah.
That is pretty amazing. So yeah, so here I am with my system. So what's new about OS 1.4? Well, the big new thing is the new H4 organ. So we have the H1, H2, H3. Now we have a new H4. And it sounds like this. So it's a great sounding, you know, they all sound very similar because they're all vintage drawbar organs, but they do have some differences, and I'll just play through them really quick. So this is the H4 that you're hearing, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the H1, H2, and H3, same exact settings. So what I have here are these drawbar settings that you see right here. Third percussion, normal, slow. So let's start out with the H4 first. So now this is the H1. So you hear some differences, especially in the percussion, definitely, compared to the H4. H1. Here's the H2 now, and listen to the difference in the percussion. Just point that out first, and I'll go back and play some differences between things like the low end and stuff. So here's the H2 organ compared to the H4. So H4 has a little softer percussion, a little rounder. I don't know how to explain it. It's puffier. It's great for low end. One thing I really like about it is the low end. But definitely the percussion between the two, H2. Here's H2. Here's H4. So a little difference in percussion. Now let's compare it to H3. So H3 is kind of the more modern rock one, and it has a much brighter percussive sound. You can totally hear it. Here's H4 now. So just a rounder percussive sound, but there's also some mid-range that I really like about the H4 as well, and the low end. So listen to the lower manual. So I have this set up as a 2-manual split. So in the low end, that's the H4 low end. Compared to the H1, it has a little bit more thickness to it. The other thing that I like about the H4, going back to the H4 here, it has kind of a nice mid-range sound in compared to something like the H1. A little brighter. H2 has a little bit more harmonic stuff, so here's H2. You compare that to the H4 again. So I'm just moving back and forth. So there's slight differences. So what are you hearing out of all this? To me, the H1 is sort of like the go-to drawbar organ that has a little bit of everything. Pretty much just like the main one, the perfect, I guess you could say. H2 is a little bit more played in. There's a little bit more harmonic things inside the sound, a little bit more. A little bit more leakage, I find. H3 has much more of the percussive, and it's a much brighter organ, great for rock. And then the H4 is sort of this low end, great for I think kicking bass for one thing. Because of the low end, I really love that about this organ. So that's kind of the differences. There's not a whole lot of difference between them, but there's enough in there to really, I think, highlight a really cool update to this instrument here. So the other thing that we have in the 1.4 update, there are 8 new live set sounds. 4 of them are just organs, and 4 of them are organs with splits and layers. But they all feature the H4. So the first one here, H4 loudest, is just one that has all drawbars out right here. You can see them all going here. So all drawbars out. Love that sound. Great for rock. Next one here is a prog organ. So it's still a brighter rock kind of sound, prog rock. Great, love that. Detroit organ, this one is all fundamentals. And the thing I love about this one is when it comes up, the rotary speaker is stopped. So when you play this, and turn it on. Some just very fundamentals, not a lot of the harmonics in there. All of them are just 16, 8, 4, 2, and 1. This is one of my favorite sounds in here, the ballad organ. So again, a nice fundamental sort of sound with just the 16 and the 8. I really love this sound. It's one of my favorite basically drawbar settings. I love the comping sound that you get when you have these fundamentals down. I usually just pull out just the 8-foot. I just love that sound. You put the 16 in there, though, you get the low end in there. It's such a beautiful sound. And the H4, to me, that's really where the strength of the H4 comes in, is in this type of a sound, this very fundamental one. Now, let's move on to some of these gospel one in here. So this is just the CFX with the H4. So great layer, sound great for gospel, hence gospel layer. Next one in here is one that's called WR. So this one's the Reed electric piano with the H4 organ. After that, you have this funky split one. So splits, there you go. Nice organ on the top, very bright kind of sounding organ. And then this last one is just a cool one. It's called Fathoms Down. And it's very much shows, I think, the effects and the pad quality of this instrument. But there's with the H4 in there, running through F2 flanger in here, so that's part of the sound. And then there's this cool the monophonic FM trance EDM sound on the top. So there you go. So you get the new H4 organ. You get 8 new live sets. And there's some other things in here. Live set EQ. Hoppy's going to talk a little bit about that in a second. And then the new auto power off in this instrument. It just simplifies it so that it's either enabled or disabled. And when it's enabled, auto power off happens in 15 minutes. When it's disabled, it's disabled. So that's the main thing inside this H4 organ. So I'll be back in a little bit to talk about the 50th anniversary in a moment here. But before I do that, I'm going to turn it back over to Alvaro because he's a returning player. And he's going to play another tune. So take it away, Alvaro.
I hope you like it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I'm sure.
The YC in action with the 1.4. I have used the performances, the live set that Blake has talked about, like Gospel Layer, the Phantom Downs. I love it. I enjoy it very much playing with this. And okay, for me, one of the most important features is the H4 organ, like Blake has said, but there are many other features that Happy will talk about now.
Thank you, Alvaro. That was awesome. I love your music. Great performance. Yes, so I like to show the live set EQ real quick. So I prepared a live set sound here. It's called Big Pad, and it sounds like this. And it's really kind of a heavy pad. And if you want to, for example, make it a little bit more lightweight, so with less lower frequencies or stuff like that, you can see I already used my effects here, so there's no effect left over which I can use to EQ the sound. But now with a new feature, Live Set EQ, I can use the master equalizer and store the settings from the master equalizer into each individual particular live set. In order to do this, I first of course have to turn it on, and then I can immediately start setting my frequencies like this. So I will now make it really obvious. So I will turn all the way down the low frequencies like this. And then I bring in some mid frequencies here and bring the highs all the way up just to make it more obvious for this example, right? So now it sounds like this, using the master equalizer. And now what I have to do is I have to go to settings. And I always say or mention it that you can use the wheel here to search or to access menu entries, but you can also use the live set buttons. and they are referring to each of the menu entries, and in this case I want to go for sound, so I press sound. And then I go for function, which is number 5 here. Then I go to number 3, which is live set EQ. And number 1 is the mode switch, and I have to turn it on for this particular live set. And now I can store this live set into a new empty live set sound like this, for example. There we go. And you can see the display now shows EQ, which gives me the information that the master equalizer is used for the settings. I turn it off now, and it's now turned off for each and every other live set, but for this one it's turned on. So let's compare both. Again, my big pad, like, and the number 4. So you can use it to set individual equalizer settings for each of the live sets. That's a cool new feature. Now, for the next thing, I'd like to come back to a question that's been asked through the Tech Talk live questions. And this is from Canada, from Ans. And he wants to know if it's possible to have individual, or to set these sounds, the live set sounds, to individual mono outputs for a split situation. His example was an organ sound on the left-hand side and a piano on the right-hand side. I prepared such a live set here, and currently it's set to stereo again. Right? And now when I want to set it to mono, so that the organ is going out of the left to the left channel and the piano to the right, I again use settings. And again, I need to go to sound. Then first I set the organ settings. And there we have the last entry, which is panorama. So when I play the organ, I can bring it all the way to the left, like this. And then I press exit twice. And then I go to key A. So I select key A settings. Key A is my piano. I again use pan. And I go all the way to the right. Right? There we go. And then, of course, you can store this into a new live set sound with these settings. And another question that also from Canada, from Duncan, and he managed to select different live set sounds within a page using a program change command, but he didn't manage to change also the pages. So you can see I'm back on my big pad right here. On page, this is page number 20, slot 1, and if I just send a program change command, it will just change the live set sounds within this particular page. In order to change also the live set page, we have to use the so-called bank select command. This is an excerpt from the data list from the manual of the YC series, where we have this table called bank select. It's just an excerpt. You can see that we have to use the MSB, which is always the same, and then the LSB changes accordingly to the live set page that I want to call up. And I created a small demo controller here on my iPad, and let me position this so that we can see it, also the display. There we go. And now I've just, for demonstration purposes, I prepared the first 4 pages and then the page 20 again. And now this uses these MSB, LSB, and also the program change, of course. So now let's change this to, for example, number 7, and you see it jumps to page 1, live set slot 7. Let's go for page number 2, for example, live set slot 5, or page 3, number 8. Pad, or page 4, For example, this one. And back to page 20, to my pad, right? There we go. So it's possible. We just have to use the bank select and program change, and then everything works. That's it from my side. Now back to Blake with news from Yamaha Synths 50th anniversary.
Yes, very cool. I love that. So what is the iPhone? There's an app that you're using for that.
Yeah,
right?
That's the MIDI designer. It's called MIDI designer. It's
Okay,
available for iOS, for iPad, and iPhone. And yeah, it's good for such things like controlling MIDI devices. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's very cool. So, well, no, all that I'm going to talk about here very quickly here. Let me switch over to a little bit of a change. So this is just the web page. This is usa.yamaha.com. Europe web page is the same. It'll have the yamaha.com, but I believe it's europe.yamaha.com. I think is what it is, something like that. But they all look the same as far as its the layout here. So what you want to do to check out this new 50th anniversary content, which it is 1974 is when Yamaha started making synthesizers, from organs into the world of synthesizers. And they have a very cool website. This is going to develop over the years. There'll be more things added to it. But how you get to it is you go to the products area, and it's under the synthesizers and music production tools part of the product. And there's a part here that says special content. So when I hit special content, there I am. And you have some stuff on MIDI 2.0 in there as well. But here is the 50th anniversary content right here. So when I click into this, it's pretty cool what we have here. There's this chronology, I think, has been here before. This just shows a very quick kind of where the products were developed. Like this is the SY1, SY2, the GX1, and so on. And it just takes you through a nice overview of all the products that we've released over the last 50 years. Lots of them in here. But if we go back one, there's a brand new site here that's really cool in the history part. And it's broken up into these chapters. So you have basically 8 chapters. 7 is not quite done yet. That's today's. So I think we're writing that as we speak. But it's pretty cool. The intro is especially really fascinating. A lot of stuff that when I first saw this, I didn't really know. Certainly not the actual titles of some of these instruments here, but these are some of our older electone organs with the GX1 in the middle, which is where that everything sort of changed, and it changed over to synthesizers from this organ world. But the GX1 right here, the 2 manual, basically it's 2 of our CS80 style analog synthesizers with this little SY1 small keyboard up here, a solo keyboard. Very cool, very rare instrument right here. But if you go down, you can see, the whole thing. I'm not going to read all this to you, but you can see these EX21, which I had really no idea about, but that's one of the early organs. And then just a whole thing about where that all developed with some great pictures. Really cool stuff in here. Just like this kind of stuff. Independent oscillator per note. It's just, these were massive, really, really cool technologically innovative pieces back when they were released, and then the GX1 comes out, which was really the beginning of the 50 years of Yamaha synthesizers. Right there, goes all the way FM in here. Evolution with the SY99 with RCM synthesis, the EX5. This is right about when I joined the company, was with the EX5. The VL1 is in here as well. The Motif series, 15 years of my life was all about this Motif series, montage, and then coming soon. And there'll be some product stories that are coming that will be in here as we go through. I'm not going to go through the whole thing here, but you get an idea. There you go. So keep looking at this part of the site. It's in this special content section, this 50th anniversary. That's going to evolve as the year goes by. So keep checking out that area up there. And that's pretty much all that I have here. I will go right very quickly to end this show with a few things. YamahaSynth.com. I just wrote a OS 1.4 Blake's Take article up there that has a bunch of audio examples. I also did some analysis using a Spectral Layers, which is a Steinberg software that does some cool stuff with waveforms. But the main thing that I'm using it for here is imaging each of these organ tones so you can get an idea of what's different about them. Anyway, that's up on YamahaSynth.com. All of these links are in the description of the video here. You have IdeaScale. If you have any ideas for a Yamaha product or a feature, join the IdeaScale community. It's a community that's set up specifically for you to put those out there. We go through them once a week, and we forward them to our development team in Japan. So just to let you know, that's the IdeaScale community. SoundMondo, our free social sound sharing site. I put up the sounds, just the basic stuff that I started at the beginning. I put those up on SoundMondo. They're just the very basic, my H4, H1, H2, H3. They're all the same setup, just like I showed earlier. I just put those up on SoundMondo to download if you want those. They're linked in the article that I wrote. SoundMondo, again, it's our free social sound sharing site that supports Montage, ModiX, YC series, CP, and so on, Reface. Lots of free sounds up there. That's the SoundMondo social sound sharing site. SoundCloud is where I'm putting a lot of our any of the sound demos that I recorded for my article. They're up on our SoundCloud. We also have about 60 or so behind the synth podcast episodes where we interview different artists, different musicians, different people out there. I think, Hoppe I've interviewed. I think I've talked to Alvaro up there. All in that Behind the Synth, our podcast. So check out our SoundCloud for those audio things like that. And then the music production guide. This is what Hoppe works on every, few months and releases a new version of a very cool guide. They've been putting them out for the last, 12 years now. All the archive is up there. But again, all of these links are in the description. You're going to want to definitely join the music production guide to check that out because it's very cool. And that is basically about it for me. I guess we can bring the rest of the crew back here.
Thanks.
Alvaro, you sounded amazing as always.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's
You
so
too.
great to see you.
Awesome.
I wish I could see you, in person. Honestly, I miss you.
I
Man.
want to.
That was so great. But that's it for this time. We'll be doing another Tech Talk next month on something else interesting. Keep checking YamahaSynth.com for information on that. And gentlemen, thank you so much. That was a great man, Alvaro. That tune was killing me, so I'm still thinking about that. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this edition of Tech Talk. And we'll see you next month.
Thanks to all our guests also.
Yes, absolutely.
See you soon.
See you soon.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers.